Okay, good evening, listeners. It's 6 o'clock UK time. This is Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. My name is Saad, and I'm in Southeast London, in Bromley. And with me, as usual, is Gregory. Gregory, how are you, and how's the weather where you are?
Weather has been kind, has been wonderful, and it's still very bright here.
Okay. I would say it was bright here in London. Now it is overcast and it's mild. But up to this week, it has been very sunny and bright and warm. So just today, it's a little bit not as bright as that. So welcome, listeners.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, good. So, yes, the number to join us on our UK number with any questions or comments, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message, in the light of truth, by Uprushing, is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, the complete world picture arises. Where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will you be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail Message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with the 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. Dear listeners, just to remind you, this is our 6-year anniversary of this radio show, Spiritual Discussion Program. And the topic we have chosen for you tonight is man's behavior towards the help from the light. Man's behavior towards the help from the light. And you're welcome to join us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00 44 79 39 641 958. Apologies for the interference there. So just to repeat that numbers if you're calling from abroad or contact us from abroad, it's 00 44 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, again, as you know, I like to look in the dictionary at the words in our topic. And just to look at the title for the topic tonight is man's behavior towards help from the light. One of the key words there, I think man, we all know man is humanity. This meaning of the word taken as a general meaning, a general word for man. So the next word is behavior. And I looked that up in the dictionary, and it says the way one conducts oneself, especially towards others. So I think that's quite straightforward. Anything, Gregory, you'd like to say in response to that definition of behavior? Hello?
Well, these verb, which is this word behavior is a verb, which sort of gives a perspective of an activity. How the activity is perceived is something else altogether. So once you mention behavior, hello, can you hear me?
Yes. I'm here.
Because there's reverberation. Once the word behavior is mentioned, one can see an activity within oneself and also without oneself.
Okay. Oh dear.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here, Gregory. Carry on.
No, I've finished. I said there is an activity within the individual and an activity out of the individual.
Right.
Whereas what you mentioned was an activity that appertains to out of the individual.
Okay. Yes. So no, I've thank you for that. I do now. I got what you're saying. Yes. So the activity is a two-way rather than one way, as is implied in that definition. So yes, thank you for clarifying that. Okay. So just referring back to the title, just to remind us again, this topic tonight is man's behavior towards the help from the light. So we will go deeper into it, but just you've said the behavior, it is two-way, meaning that how we behave and Gregory, you might need to remind me to clarify it again one more time. So it's our behavior, Gregory, towards someone else, and also to how we receive it. Is that right?
No, there are two perspectives.
Right.
The internal behavior of the individual is one perspective. Then the external behavior of the individual is another perspective that needs to be considered. Both of these, the internal activity and the external activity, the union of both activities is what one refers to as behavior, albeit man's behavior.
Right. Thank you again, Gregory. That does help me actually to see it more clearly now. So it's the internal and external behavior. And thank you for that. Okay. So now to continue looking in the dictionary, the next word I looked up was the word help. And I found two different meanings or two places where I found meaning for the word help. And one definition I found for this word help is to make it easier or possible for, in brackets, someone to do something by offering one's services or resources. So let me repeat that. That's in one dictionary I found the meaning of help, to make it easier or possible for someone, that's in brackets, to do something by offering one's services or resources. And Gregory, just bear in mind, I have a second definition to follow up. So I just want you to, could you make any comment on that definition?
Well, these definitions, I said, vary from point to point and vary from person to person. Whereas to view help from an intuitive perspective, one will only call it beneficial activity. Whatever activity is of benefit to the personality or to the environment, that in itself is help. Otherwise, it is not help.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to read the next definition, and bearing in mind what you have said, we will look at it that way. So that definition, another meaning I found in a different dictionary for the word help: to give or provide what is necessary to accomplish a task or satisfy a need. And continues, contribute strength or means to, render assistance to, cooperate effectively with. And there's given a couple of synonyms, aid and assist. So I'll repeat that. This is another definition of the word help: to give or provide what is necessary to accomplish a task or satisfy a need. Contribute strength or means to, render assistance to, cooperate effectively with, aid, and the other word, assist. Gregory, I think this definition, although it's quite long and wide, it seems to be more in accord with what you have talked about, beneficial. Would
Yes.
you like? Yeah. Okay. So that's a better definition, let's call it. Okay. I mean, it's quite a few things, concepts in there. So, okay, we will explore that further as well. And then again, I'm going to repeat the topic's title again. It is man's behavior towards help from the light. Now, here, listeners, we are using the word light, and we use it with a capital L in the spelling. And I mean, I did look up the definition in the dictionary, but I think it's not really what we mean in our discussion, what we are going to discuss in our discussion tonight. However, Gregory, I will just look at the definition in any case, just so we are aware of it. So this is in the dictionary, Gregory, the meaning of light: the natural agent that stimulates sight and makes things visible. And this example of a sentence with the word light, they've said, the light of the sun. So again, Gregory, I'll just repeat that one more time. This is the meaning of the word light in the dictionary: the natural agent that stimulates sight and makes things visible. And the example they've given is the light of the sun. So Gregory, would you like to say something on that?
Of course. What is referred to there is the scenario of the earthly or matter. If one is to take it a bit further, you'll find that light is connected to radiation. And you will also find that not all radiation is able to strike one's sight, because there is also heat. There is also, you'll find that there is a range where the eye or the senses of the eye can pick certain radiation. So the equivalent one should use intuitively for light will be radiation.
Okay. All right. I just want to explore that further. Again, by going to the title tonight, or the topic tonight. So we have called, the topic tonight is man's behavior towards help from the light. And you just said here we should look at light as radiation.
Yes.
So I'm trying to understand that. When we ask for help, you don't think of that as radiation, help from radiation. That's what I'm a little bit puzzled, if I can say that. So, and so I just, if you can help us with that, what we mean by help from the light. Is it help from radiation?
Well, you were taking the heading step by step. And you started from behavior, you talked about help, now you talk about the light. In the case of help, one gave the equivalent of beneficial activity. Now, with the light, one gave the equivalent of radiation. So, but I think maybe the next step will be taking the whole sentence or the whole expression. So I don't know which step we are for now.
Right. I think that's where we'll go to then. So again, listeners, just to say it one more time, not one more time, I'll say it many times in the show. So the topic title or topic tonight is man's behavior towards help from the light. And so normally, Gregory, in our discussions in our previous shows, when we think about help, we're thinking from help from the Almighty, from the Creator, from God. So I just want to make sure when we are using the word light, is that something different now in this context?
In this context, the reference is from the radiation from the source of all power. That is the light which is referred to.
Right. So radiation from the source of all power. Okay. I've got sort of many things arising in my mind now. Okay, let's do it again as we say, step by step. So, Gregory, we're talking about human beings now. Okay, let me start, Gregory. What is the help that human beings receive from the light? Let's start like that.
That expression, what is the help that human beings receive from the light, must be viewed as in a comprehensive manner. For the first question each person must ask themselves is, what is man? Who am I? It is that which then leads to the further realization and recognition of what framework is in place. For only through this framework can one understand or comprehend what has been put in place as help for help itself has been instituted a framework of the laws of nature through which the human personality itself and also the further development of the human personality is based. Therefore, when you look at the whole story, from the inception of the human personality, from the inception as a spirit seed grain, and the further evolution of that spirit seed grain to the present time, a lot of things have been put in place to enable it to develop beneficially. That means what has been put in place is of benefit. The laws of nature, same time the laws of creation, through which the human personality also came into existence, have already been put in place. That alone is how.
Thank you for your picture and answer there, Gregory. You're pointing to that, we need to reflect on, you could say, like you say, who are we? What is our purpose? Because until you have clarity on these points of what we are and what is our purpose, then only then you can say, okay, what's the help we need? And then you've also mentioned about the framework, that there is a framework, and we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a, let's say, this world or creation, and we need to be aware of, that you could say this world that we live in. And then also you mentioned about the laws of nature there, which are always operating. So this is again reminding us about the framework. So thank you for this answer. And I think you also pointed to, Gregory, that the help is inside already there in this framework. It's like, so you almost think, well, you don't really, in a way, there is no need for help because there's, how can I say, mechanism operating, So, Gregory, just to clarify that, actually. So we are living in a framework, as you mentioned, Gregory, where the laws of nature are operating. So is there a need for help, Gregory, in the sense of just living, or is it only the help is needed when things go wrong?
Help in itself has been intrinsic within this particular framework of the laws of nature, of the laws of creation. However, the human personality, starting as a spirit seed grain, and in its evolution comes to recognition in a step-by-step fashion. So you find there is first the recognition or the awareness of what is about itself, the other objects around it, the environment around it, and subsequently move towards self-consciousness. It is the light that has put this framework in place such that the human spirit, if it follows that particular framework, that path through which it is being guided, it will come to self-consciousness. Self-consciousness of itself and of the responsibilities that accrue to it when it becomes self-conscious. So this plan has always been there.
Thank you, Gregory. You know, the more you talk, I can see that for us to, you use the word recognize, for us to recognize this world of who we are, and you could say our journey of development, maybe that's the way to put it. It's quite a lot of steps, let's say, that we need to come to recognize. So we'll explore that again further in a moment. Before I continue, I'd like to let listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushi. And if you are interested in knowing more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is man's behavior towards help from the light. Man's behavior towards help from the light. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Also, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Also, we are broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is man's behavior towards the light. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows as well. And thirdly, we are broadcasting on zeno.fm/bless radio 1. Again, the number 1. Zeno is ZENO.FM/bless radio 1, the number 1. Now, Gregory, you mentioned that we are a spirit germ, or we started a journey as a spirit germ or seed, and with the aim of becoming conscious, as we go, and Gregory, what makes me think about that? So, if we are unconscious, how can we know where to go, Gregory, in our journey? It's like we don't know, and that reminds me of the title again, Man's Behavior Towards the Help from the Light. How do we, as a spirit germ who is not conscious, sort of find our way in this world? Can we do that on our own?
That is why the help has always been there. What was stressed is that the human seed grain does not start as a human form. It is of a seed grain, just like you have a corn being planted or a grain being planted in the soil. And in the process of growing over time, it takes on the form of a plant that you and I can recognize. So when it is referred to that we have a spirit seed grain, in the process of development, it first becomes conscious of the surroundings about it. And once the tendency towards maturity, first in its perception of the surroundings, it then starts taking up the human form. For the laws through which it itself came into existence, within these laws have been woven into it that which is necessary for it to become first conscious of the surrounding and subsequently move towards self-consciousness. So there are the inner urgings and the protection which have been woven in the paths that these human personalities, or these budding human personalities, should take. It is within this framework that all must be viewed. For as it becomes conscious, one may also use that, say, to opening its eyes to the surrounding in a spiritual way. And in that particular process, it is able to see the points of help. These points of help are other beings that do tend to it, such that it's able to recognize.
Thank you, Gregory, for your explanation and picture again. As usual, we are building up this picture, to have a proper understanding of the help, you could say, in our development, that we, as a spirit seed, you said spirit germ or grain, how we started our journey, and the laws of nature are the help, as you pointed to, for us to, which, let's say, we come to recognize as we, you could say, mature and experience life. So now, Gregory, I know you mentioned the word plan. So is there, you could say, a map of our journey already mapped for us, or planned for us as human spirits, or seeds? Is it, is there, let me put it this, how can I put it? Is there a set, fixed plan, Gregory, for us human beings, in our journey of, you could say, I think you mentioned to become conscious, if I remember. So is there a fixed map or plan for that?
Creation itself, nature itself, is motion. It is movement. Therefore, it is dynamic. Whatever needs to be attained, that in itself, the attainment of a particular level, that is fixed. Only through the maturity can one attain to a particular level. But as to the movement, the motion, that is dynamic. For creation itself is always in motion. That's one is trying to differentiate the development which is in phase and what has to be achieved or what has to be attained. So you will find that what you now refer to as like a map, it's only a framework. What is a map? A map is a picture. A picture which many call photographs. In a photograph, which photographs many times are rigid. You see things in fixed places. That is not the only thing I was referring to. For many who watch moving pictures, that is more realistic. Like many times you watch a film or you watch a movie, that is nearer to what is being referred to. So life itself, the processes are dynamic. And therefore, if the human personality wishes to attain to its goal, it must move. For motion itself is a law in creation.
Thank you, Gregory, again for your answer there and the picture you're building. So what I'm getting now is that there are laws there, natural laws, and one of the laws is law of motion, but it all works dynamically. So not everybody, you could say, goes into the same place or in their journey and has to have the same experience. And it is different. What I want to understand next, Gregory, now is when we start the journey, you mentioned about maturity there. Is everybody starting on the same, if I can use the word, same level playing field? Is everybody equal as a spirit seed when we start? So is the journey, let's say, I was going to use the word fair in this way, or are there some people who have an advantage because they are more mature already than others? So, they're somehow more talented. I don't know how to put this. I was going to use the word intelligent, but I'm not sure if that's the right appropriate word here. So I'll just repeat the question, Gregory. Do we start on a level playing field as a spirit seed in our journey, or are some more gifted? Let me say it that way.
When the spirit seed germ or spirit seed grain is mentioned, at that state, it is not conscious of itself or conscious of the surrounding, of the environment. At that state, that is a commonality. Only that which had been sown into it, which, if in due course, the seed grain, through its movements, allows those talents to unfold. That is what counts. It is how these spirit seed grains allow the talents which have been sown into it. It is how they go about it, how they are able to follow. That is what then distinguishes one from another. There are some, in quotes, who develop a set of talents while allowing other talents to be dormant at a particular opportunity, whereas others will sort of develop another set. So what had been granted them as spirit seed grain is the same. It is how they then go about in the development that is what is expressed by some as, oh, this one in quotes is more intelligent. And when this word intelligence is used, one has to be very careful. For someone who plays music and brings a lot of joys to another is different. The exhibition of his characteristics is different from another who, for example, is so-called scientist, or, for example, a farmer who produces food. You would not say because someone produces food is more intelligent than the other who is a musician, or vice versa. What should be observed is that the activities of one in the process of maturing, supports the activities of the other. And therein lies one for all and all for one.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. Now, this journey, I know we haven't mentioned it up to now, but the spirit seed, that's not on the journey that begins on the earth, right? It's because, yeah, let's just clarify that, Gregory, because you said, what is our origin, or what are we? So could you sort of paint that picture of the start of our journey and coming to this earth? Yes, if you could paint that picture.
You yourself mentioned the earth. The earth is in the world of matter. The human spirit grain arose from within the same species, the species of spirituality. Therefore, that is where it started from. In order now to experience, for the experiences in its domain are so fast, are so swift, that it is unconscious, unable to follow. As activities move away from its origin, the first it encounters is that of animistic, the species of the animistic. And further down, another in the world of matter is where you have the earth. The world of matter is gigantic. It is so massive that the human intellect is unable to have a complete picture of it. However, the world of matter is temporary, it's not permanent. It comes into being, it matures, it bears fruits, and subsequently it disintegrates to its primeval substances. And then it comes together again. So within that period, the human seed grain sets out from its origin into or through the animistic realm and sinks itself into this world of matter, which world of matter has other steps, but we are looking at the big picture, as if one is a bird flying from on high. All right, but as you go deeper and deeper, as you come closer, you find that there are separate parts and there are subspecies even within the world of matter. So from its origin, it has come here to gradually experience through its activities, to gradually learn to understand the language which nature speaks to it, to learn the language which creation speaks to it, Only when it has learned this language and knows how to apply this particular language to the benefit, first, to himself, to the benefit of its surroundings, to the benefit of others, through the virtues which has been implanted into it. When it has cultivated its virtues, then and only then will it say it understands this language of nature, of creation, and how to apply this language for the benefit of all. Then it may then return back to its origin, having acquired the ideal human form, which human form is what you now see, even right here on earth, but a more ideal human form with the virtues cultivated. Only then would one say it has become self-conscious. Then it is permitted to exist eternally.
Thank you for that picture and how to describe that, but you could say the development of us human beings from a spirit seed to, yes, unconscious spirit seed to a self-conscious, I know you didn't use that word, I think, there, but to a self-conscious spiritual being. And now, Gregory, just to remind everybody, the topic tonight is man's behavior towards the help from the light. Now, we have looked at the, you could say, help that we see in the laws of nature, and we have also seen how man is in terms of origin and his development. And then now I want to start looking at man's behavior. So, Gregory, as we said, you started as unconscious spirit seed, and then journeying down, if I can say that way, from the spiritual world to this gross, to the world of matter, where the earth is, with, you could say, the laws guiding us downwards, to, if I can use the word downwards, from heaven or from spiritual realm down to this earth. And so how was our behavior, Gregory, on this journey from as a spiritual seed down to this world on the earth? How was our behavior in regards to the help from the light? Gregory? Are you there, Gregory?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Did you hear
At the start of this discussion, we had talked about behavior, and one had referred to the internal behavior and also the external behavior. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
The internal behavior, which one we refer to as that of the intuitive thoughts and the external are the external activities which one is able to perceive through the five senses which have been granted to man. Now, the question which many will then ask, how has man fared with what has been granted to it? Had man fared the right way as is intended, then all the wars, all the destructions would not have been there. For what has been passed on to it for recognition, the human personality has not used it in the way it is intended. Hence, all the destruction that you find, all the heaviness. Hence, the region which had been formed through the terrible caricatures of the intuitions of men, those terrible caricatures which hold so much punishment, which is referred to as hell, came into existence. That was never in the plan, but man, in its behavior, ignored that which should be of benefit and has distorted what should be of benefit to it. Now it has become destruction. It has become a trap for the human personality, for it is unable for many to sever themselves and go back home as self-conscious human personalities. The existence of hell alone gives you a clear picture of what man had done with the power, with the opportunities granted to it to become self-conscious.
Thank you, Gregory. Yes, I mean, it's quite clear, as you pointed there, how man has behaved on this earth. We do not have peace, as is quite clear from even the current news, but it's not only now. We've known it for, we say, thousands of years. How man has behaved in that. You mentioned before and on other shows as well about being one for all and all for one. Well, that certainly hasn't happened. In fact, it's one for oneself, it looks like, each one for himself, rather than, or let's say there are a few examples of one for all, but overall, you could say it has turned out each one for himself. Now, Gregory, we know, let's say every action there is a consequence, and somehow, Gregory, we still, despite the destruction, like you mentioned, we still seem to be, how can I say, going forward, still around on this earth. It hasn't led to complete destruction. We're still around. So maybe, Gregory, the help is still happening. We're still getting help from the light to continue to exist. And I'm just trying to understand that. Is the light, the help from the light, which we from the light, is it unconditional? Or eternally eternal?
The help from the light, of the light, is tied to the framework of existence itself. This existence, this framework, had always been such that only that which is of benefit exists in all eternity. However, man has the free will to make decisions, the free will to be, the free will to choose or not to choose. In not making use of the help in accordance with this will, which will itself is eternal. Therefore means that man ignores that which should be helpful, which should be of benefit to it. Therefore means man rejects the help. Like was mentioned, the human spirit seed grain that left its origin in paradise as an unconscious seed grain needed to have passed through the animistic. That itself is hell. Needed to have come to the world of matter. That itself is hell. For it is the light that has prepared this animistic realm. It is the light that has prepared the world of matter. It is the light that has put in place all that the human spirit seed grain will need in order to grow, to become conscious of its environment, and subsequently to become conscious. That itself is hell. The world of matter, which has been prepared, is transient. That itself is hell. It is transient because it comes a time when the world of matter, which has been put together to act as coverings, such that whoever comes into the world of matter can do all that needs to be done and then return. This world of matter grows and will undergo disintegration. That itself is hell. If, however, the human spirit seed grain, which is becoming conscious in its fleshly case, refuse to make the right decision, then there will come a time when this world of matter undergoes disintegration. And for those human personalities who are unable to sever themselves at that time or before that time comes, they are drawn into the process of disintegration. That means what they had acquired, the human form which they had acquired up till that time, now disintegrates. It then returns back home as an unconscious spirit seed grain. It only means the efforts which have been carefully prepared by the servants of the light, by the nature beings, to ensure that the human personality as a guest is able to grow and become self-conscious. That effort has been in vain. Therefore, it is time for the human personality to understand, to make quick efforts, to understand the language of creation, the language of the will of the provider of the power, so that in understanding this language is able to develop itself as a self-conscious personality. Then its journey down to the world of matter in order to grow would not be in vain.
Thank you for the picture there, Gregory, again. Just want to remind listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. This is our 6-year anniversary. And the aim of our show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushing. If you are interested in knowing more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, message, message.com. And you're listening. Before I talk about that, you're listening to Blessed Radio. Let me say that first. You're listening to Blessed Radio, and we are broadcasting on Blessed Radio 1, the number 1.com. We are broadcasting also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space live stream. That's to listen to the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is man's behavior towards help from the light. And you can also listen to our previous shows. And finally, you can also listen to us on zeno.fm/Bless Radio 1. Zeno is ZENO.fm/Bless Radio, the number 1 again. And just to remind you, the topic we are discussing tonight is man's behavior towards help from the light. Man's behavior towards help from the light. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments. The number to contact us is, on our UK number, it is 07939 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, I've received a question from a listener. He appears to be someone who is reading the Grail Message, and he's asking or he's saying, yeah, it's a question. I read somewhere that the human spirit germ goes through several earth lives in order to attain perfection. How many earth lives, in brackets reincarnations, do we need on the average in order to fulfill our full cycle? I'll repeat that, Gregory. It says, I read somewhere that the human spirit germ goes through several earth lives in order to attain perfection. How many earth lives, brackets reincarnations, do we need on average in order to fulfill our full cycle?
What that question is referring to, how long or how many times do you have to incarnate to become matured? That is a question which many must reflect on. But the answer becomes very easy when one knows that all the spirit gem needs to do, or the human personality, is to open itself. How the human spirit needs to open itself through its intuition to be able to perceive of the challenges that it needs to mature is down to the human spirit itself. For a change of inner attitude will enable the human personality to mature very quickly. In all the discussions, there has been stress that in our thoughts, in our intuitive thoughts, in our activities, if the human personality considers one for all and all for one, if the human personality also, depending on the teachings it has come across, again the inner attitude, where it is said, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. If the human personality in its experience opens itself and realizes that just as he himself or herself has challenges, so do others. Just as he himself from time to time needs help, so do others. And therefore, in order to be able to work effectively and as quickly as possible, then that saying, one for all and all for one, becomes the key. Then it will have matured as quickly as possible, so that it does not need to spend such long time incarnating in different earth lives. So it is not the count of the earth lives that one should be focusing on, but whilst on earth, what have you made of it? It is not a matter of calculus. This is how I'm going to do this or do that at this rate. It is the openness of the human personality through its intuition. That is the first step. So you might find some who haven't incarnated on earth, spend about 5 incarnations, and are fully matured such that they can move further. You might find others who have come on earth, incarnated not once, not 10 times, not 20 times, not even 50 times. One thing becomes clear, that the world of matter is temporal. So the need is there for the human personality to strive very quickly to understand what creation presents to it. Which creation has come into being through the fire, let there be light. That means let there be the radiations through which the human personality can even come into existence and benefit. Therefore, it is necessary and high time for the human personality to make haste and not to hold on to trivialities, to human trivialities, but opening up to be of help to itself and to others. Then, before long, it would have matured enough as to be able to sever itself and rise back in worship.
Thank you for your answer there, Gregory. I mean, as what you pointed to is every person is different, and each one. It's not about a race. Somebody has to do it in 5 lives. Somebody has to do it in 50 lives, Earth lives, reincarnations, let's call it, to become mature. It must be striving for the, that maturity. And what I thought about there, Gregory, we've been sent prophets, giving us scriptures and so on. You could say leaders of mankind who are, let's say, examples. Now, are we meant to, Gregory, you've talked about the help, coming through the laws. They are built, which is sort of built in to this creation. Now these other, if I can call them helpers, which are, in this case, I'm talking about prophets, who come with scriptures and so on. Are we meant to look at the scriptures, Gregory, to guide us as well, and also the lives as an example of how to live like these prophets? Are we meant to look at that as well to help us?
The lives of the so-called prophets, when viewed aright, can also be helpful. For one does not want to use such as examples. If, for example, one says, yeah, we have Moses, like many would say, as a prophet, as an example, then the question arises, here was Moses, who was carefully prepared, who went into quietness to receive the laws, and on returning and seeing what the people who he is supposed to lead were doing, he himself shattered the tablets of the law. Will that be an example? Therefore, one would not take the lives of the prophets who, like fellow human spirits, had to go through a process of fermentation. The example that one may use would be that of the Son of the Light himself. The Son of the Light himself, who exhibited earnest good volition, who had everlasting love, and he was always prepared to serve. The Son of the Light himself, who was patient and persevered. The Son of the Light himself, who had absolute selflessness and dedication. And that is Christ himself. Many who wish to be honest with themselves may follow his path, for he is of the light. His ways are the ways to follow through the examples he gave. He shows how man should live whilst here on earth. And once those examples are followed through the prayer which he gave as the Lord's Prayer, one may in due course mature to such an extent as to sever himself or herself and return home as a self-conscious human spirit. That is what one knows. Others, I may not, or one may not use them as examples.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. So it shows that we must always remember our fellow human beings, even who are, you could say, highly guided, or can be fallible in let's say, in certain examples, not obviously every example, but so we obviously have to be wary of that, oh, take this person, this prophet did everything right, and so, which is an assumption on our side, that, so we should follow him. But remember that actually he's a human being who has been highly guided, let's say. So yes, even such a person can still make a mistake, and we mustn't, get maybe potentially trapped or dependent on something like that. So just beware. And you give the example of Jesus being the Son of Light, obviously being perfect, you can say, which is you could say we human beings are far from that. But that could be an example, yeah. Now, Gregory, there's something I did a bit of research, and I'm just going to open that now. Let me just find it before I say anything on that. So, we've talked about the laws of nature or creation, and also we know, Gregory, in science about the laws of motion which Isaac Newton, let's say, brought into our attention. And then in this research, Gregory, somebody, I will say, I wouldn't call it as you could say theoretically accurate as the 3 laws of motion, but they talked about the 3 laws of human behavior, and they somehow tried to base it on the 3 laws of motion. So this could be a little bit funny, what I'm going to read from this article that I've found on the internet. So I just want to give the source of it. This is just for, let's say, discussion. Not trying to say this is actually the law. But anyway, I'll just mention briefly the 3 laws of motion which Newton described, or brought to our, explained, you can say. And so that is here, and then we're going to look at the other 3 laws of human behavior. So here it says, the first law of Newton's law of motion: a body at rest will remain at rest, and a body in motion will remain in motion unless it is acted upon by an external force. And then another law, the second law of motion, it says the force acting on an object is equal to the mass of that object times its acceleration. I know that's a bit scientific, but I just want to put that out right now. And the third law is, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so I just want to read what the person has written about that, and then go into the human. 1 second. They now went forward and you could say made a discovery about human behavior. So let me just say the comment on that. There is no equivalent of Newton's law of motion in behavioral sciences. And unfortunately, Newton's work in maths and physics doesn't provide much information about human behavior. There is no direct translation of force equals mass times acceleration for the methods of our human madness. Fortunately, there do exist some general tendencies underlying much of our behavior. In the spirit of Newton's 3 laws of motion, this article presents the 3 laws of human behavior. As I say, listeners, just to give you a little bit of warning or caution, what I'm going to read next, this is somebody else's, you could say, opinion, but even you might find it a bit funny. However, I think there's something interesting there. So they have come up with their first law of human behavior, and they said behavior tends to follow the status quo unless it is acted upon by a decrease in friction or increase in fuel. So we'll go deeper into that in a minute, but that's the first law. Behavior tends to follow the status quo unless it is acted upon by a decrease in friction or increase in fuel. And I'm going to actually just go into that, explain that a little bit more, because it may not make sense. Humans are creatures of least resistance. We take the road most traveled or the road most paved. So much of our behavior runs on autopilot that it takes a significant degree of effort to take simple actions outside of our normal routine, even when we have the best of intentions for changing our behavior. Think how we I can't read that very clearly, so I'm just going to stop there. Just going to continue. The status quo is a powerful force in human behavior, directly analogous to the inertia described by Newton's first law of motion. Force is necessary for a change in motion to occur. And there are 2 primary types of forces in the context of human behavior. They are, just as in physics, forces that get in the way of performing a behavior and are called friction, from feeling of exhaustion when it's time to exercise to the application form to set up a healthy savings account. Or another way they put it is the barriers encountered in trying to in taking some action. And the second type of force, they say, is fuel. Fuel is the second type of force, representing anything that makes our behavior more appealing, like the challenge of a competition as a reward. Now, Gregory, this person is trying to use laws of physics, you can say, or Newton's laws, and trying to make something with the way human beings behave. I'm only going to look at this first law for the moment. So is there any merit, Gregory, in this, you could say, research here about how human beings behave? As I said, I've only looked at the first law for so far, in relation to the law of motion, Newton's law of motion. So do we need basically, you could say, a force that makes us act in a particular way? You could say some incentive to do something. Yes, I must say it doesn't sound very clear at the moment, but I just want to understand that. Are there any laws of behavior for human beings, Gregory, apart from, you could say, the laws of motion?
Well, thanks for this scenario, though it looks very nebulous and so many things are contained in it. First, one must consider what Newton himself put forward as laws of motion. The laws of physics are an expression, which expressions builds a model, like you're doing modeling. These laws of physics do not deal with bodies, with personalities that have free will. These laws of physics only apply to bodies, not the intrinsic part of man, which is of spirit. And therefore, one must differentiate those things that have free will, which is man, those things which respond to stimuli, which one we call animal, and those things which, in quotes, are inanimate. The laws which Newton formulated, and the expression is formulated. That means he gave it a form. Which form is that of a model, to build a model on the behavior of inanimate objects. That is different from those who have a free will to decide or not to decide. So these are two completely different categories. And from different categories, one may not apply the same models. Different categories will require different models. The model or the framework which human personality has free will to decide or not to decide, that framework are the laws of nature or the laws of creation. The laws of physics are not, I want to stress this again, the laws of physics are not the laws of nature. The laws of physics are models which have been designed to deal with external behavior of bodies which have no free will, whereas the laws of nature are designed or have been put in place through the laws of creation, from which man himself has been granted the free will to choose or not to choose. And therefore, if one needs to be fair, one has to compare like with like. Like with like only means they belong to the same category. They belong to the same type. They belong to the same species. But the examples you just stressed do not belong to the same type. They do not belong to the same kind. And therefore, the models which new things put in place and which others tend to follow cannot be advanced as represented.
Saad?
Yes, Leon?
Oh, but
Just,
continue.
can you just check that the website is still working?
Now,
Because
it's back.
it's back. Okay, it's all back. Thank you. That's great. Okay. So listeners, apologies for that. Just temporary breakdown there. Gregory, yes. So just if I can just read a bit about this second law of human behavior, which somebody has proposed. It's not some, let me say, to be taken as fact. It's just something that we're discussing. And the person has, as you mentioned earlier, Gregory, there is a free will that we human beings have. And in this context, they have done it. There's a thing. Yes, yes. You're okay, Leon. Yes. Oh, Gregory, just to check, you can hear me, yes?
Yes, of course.
Okay, good. Okay. I think there was something, there was a repeat going on, so hopefully everybody's okay with us. So, as I was saying, Gregory, that there's the second law of human behavior, which this person is proposing, which is about the person, we, a human being, and the environment, and being, you know, how we behave in how it. So I'll just read that what it's being said about that. Here it says. Okay. Okay, so the law is more complex than it may appear at first glance, going beyond the independent observation that behavior is dependent on the person and that behavior is also influenced by the environment. Okay, it's all getting a bit too theoretical, so I don't want to go into that. I'd just like to ask Gregory, is our behavior and even our free will that you've mentioned, is that dependent on the environment that we are in, or is it totally free that we can just choose or decide, you know, whatever we wish, whatever we wish to do?
Well, the behavior is dependent on how we respond to the challenges of the environment. By challenges of the environment, one is referring to the physical environment, the non-physical environment. The physical environment affects our physical senses. The non-physical environment affects our thoughts, affects our intuition. How we respond to these challenges of the physical, of the non-physical, is what makes the human personality. For the human personality is able to make a clear-cut distinction, to be able to connect to that which is of spirit, because that is its origin. Its origin because within the framework of creation, of nature, infrastructure or spiritual infrastructure has been put in place. Animistic infrastructure has been put in place. Physical infrastructure, which is perceptible to the senses, has been put in place. So the human personality, because of its origin, is able to use the intellect to interact with the physical environment it is in. It's able to use its intuition to interact with the animistic and also with the spiritual. For the spiritual structures are in place, the animistic structures are in place, and is able, through its intuition, to make these connections. For it is his task to know how to make these connections in order to make the current environment it is in more beautiful, to make it look like paradise from whence it left as an unconscious spirit gem. That is, whilst here, having come to self-consciousness, is able to draw from the radiations of the light from these different realms and have a copy, a paradise-like environment here in the world of matter. That is its task, such that as the world of matter expands, light is able, through man as mediator, to direct that paradise-like beauty to these environments.
Thank you, Gregory, for this answer. And, it just shows, let's say in this earthly world of matter, and we are spiritual beings. And so the activity that we participate in, or, in the environment that we live in, we just always must have the focus, you can say, how can I put it, with the awareness of this whole world, or the big picture, if I can put it that way. Yes, why I'm saying that, Gregory, is people might be living like day to day, oh, I need to feed myself, I need to earn something to live, whatever it is, they're thinking of that. These are earthly, you could say, cares, which we do need to look after. And then there's the spiritual goals and values that we have to develop, or strive for, I should say. And we want them to work in harmony. Why I'm saying that, Gregory, let's say there are earthly rewards. People say, oh, if I make a decision to do this, there's a cost and there's a benefit. I know I'm getting sort of analytical here, but I'm just trying to give that picture of there's some earthly reward, earthly benefit to a particular course of action, and there's some disadvantages as well, you could say. And then there's also our spiritual goals of, developing our virtues, or striving for virtues, let me say. And it might sometimes appear there's a clash. And I'm going to paint I'm going to come to a question in a minute, Gregory, but I just want to paint that picture first. So, for example, Gregory, somebody is looking for a job, and you have to apply for it, obviously, and then there's other candidates there as well, and you could consider this to be like a competition, and almost like a fight to who is going to get that job. And obviously there's only maybe there are 30 candidates and only one position, and then let's say the one who is successful to get that position, there's a certain way they have to apply themselves. And what I'm basically saying, Gregory, is in this, when we are, whatever goals or things that we have chosen to, choose to do in our life, is there some, how can I put it, Gregory? Just, do we need to align, our earthly activities and goals with the spiritual principles. Let me say it that way. How can we do we need to do that? And if so, how do we do that?
Your question is almost equivalent to what either the Pharisees or the people of Israel at the time of Christ asked, should we pay taxes to Caesar? And Christ, understanding what he said, brought out a coin and said, on whose head is here? And they say, it's Caesar's head. And through this monetary system, it brings you benefits. They said, yes, and you are happy with it. Yes, because in the collection of taxes, things are brought together for the common good. Yes, water was piped from maybe 30, 40 miles away, such that roads were paved. But yes, and he then said, unto Caesar, give to Caesar. Unto the Lord, give to the Lord. Which means that which is spiritual, observe it. That which is mundane, which also brings benefits to the whole, observe it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that picture, Gregory, again. It's so clear for that. We've come to the end of the show tonight, listeners. I hope you have enjoyed the topic of man's behavior towards the help from the light. We've been, I could say, discussed many different aspects. So yes, I'm going to end with my regular reading from the Grail Message titled For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Uprishin. Gregory, I just want to ask you, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing them the beauty of Easter, a new beginning.
Thank you. And Easter wishes, happy wishes to you from me as well. And listeners, will be back again next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic. I wish you all a great week. God bless. Good night.